Hello and welcome. My name is Joel Rush, and this will be the first in a series of lessons on using the internet to study and practice English. In this first lesson, we will be looking at internet safety and security. Now, why would we start if we are going to be studying English by looking at internet safety and security? Well, in a word, or two words, digital citizenship. What is digital citizenship? Well, just like in normal everyday society, we have certain rights and responsibilities, and there are social norms of behavior. Online, on the internet community, we have similar guidelines, and educator Mike Ribble has outlined 9 themes of digital citizenship for behaving in an ethical and responsible manner online. We do not have time to look at all 9 of these in this lesson, but we will look at 3 that pertain to the main topic: digital security and self-protection. This pertains primarily to keeping your personal and private information safe and making sure that nobody can steal from you or commit crimes against you online. Digital rights and responsibilities, and this has to do with respecting the rights of others as well as expecting others to respect your rights, and being in general a responsible and ethical internet citizen. And digital etiquette, which essentially is the practice of good manners and good social graces when you are interacting with people online. So before we start taking a look at all the great resources we can find online for practicing and improving English, let's first take a look at internet safety and security. We will be looking at 3 different elements of this. First, internet privacy and security, ensuring that your personal information is safe and also that your internet practices are such that nobody will be stealing from you and using your personal information to either drain your bank account or otherwise steal your identity. The second point we will be looking at is cyberbullying and scams. Often cyberbullying is associated with children, but adults can be bullied too, and often that will involve seniors especially. And seniors are also targeted especially for scams and people who try to take advantage of those who are less familiar with internet technology. And the third point we'll be looking at is netiquette, or internet etiquette, which, as you might imagine, is essentially the practice of good manners, both by you and what you can expect from other people who you encounter online. There are certain risks associated with interacting with the digital society and spending time online, and it's important to understand those risks and know how to navigate the digital landscape. According to Information Systems and Technology, some examples of internet risks include identity theft, in which people steal your personal information in order to either take your money or otherwise use your identity in a way that might bring you harm. Then there is phishing, or deceitful information gathering, in which either by email or by websites which are pretending to be from legitimate companies or otherwise legitimate entities, they trick you into giving up personal information that may be used against you. And then there are scams, generally speaking. This could be anything from spam emails to aggressive marketing and other means of trying to get you to give up your personal information or to place things like tracking cookies on your computer that will allow people to invade your privacy and get information that you don't want them to have. The first aspect of internet safety we will be looking at in this lesson is privacy and security online. The Center for Internet Security, which is a great resource for learning about how to protect yourself online, recommends taking these three following safety precautions and many others, but we will only be looking at three today. The first one of these is to make strong passwords. Also, do not reveal too much personal information, especially on sites which are not secure. And the third one is that it is important for you to learn about privacy settings and use them in the correct way so that you are not giving away information that may be used to compromise your internet security. A good first step to make sure that your online information is safe and secure is to make strong passwords. The Center for Internet Security has some recommendations for making good passwords, and really almost any site that has safety recommendations will offer similar advice, but we will start with that your password should be long. It should be at least 8 characters in length, and even more, up to 10 or 12 is probably even better. Your password should include a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols, both uppercase and lowercase. If it's only letters or only numbers, it will be less secure. And your passwords should all be unique, especially for the important sites that you might use, like your banking site or sites where you're using your credit card for shopping. So you should have a different password for every site, and that might be kind of troublesome, but it will result in better internet security for your personal information. Another way to secure your internet security and your personal privacy is simply to not reveal too much personal information, especially when it's not necessary to do so. Information Systems and Technology has some good recommendations for how to do this, and here are some of those. The first is simply to be cautious if asked for personal information, and this is especially true when you did not pursue any shopping or did not contact anybody, but you were contacted or a site prompts to ask you for information that you were not prepared to provide in the first place. Another suggestion is to only use secure sites. And you can know that a site has made an effort to be secure if the web address starts with HTTPS. The S stands for secure. So whenever you're using a credit card or banking or doing anything online that involves personal information that you need to have secure, make sure that website address starts with HTTPS. And learn to avoid fishy emails and websites. These are those tricky, deceptive ones that are trying to look like they were sent by legitimate companies or real reputable websites. So one way to avoid this is to use spam filters so that they never reach you in the first place. And another way is never to provide information to cold callers. And what I mean by that is if, for example, a website suddenly pops up a window that offers you some kind of free giveaway and it asks you for some kind of information to register for that, that's probably a sign that they're trying to collect your personal information, and it's a good idea just not to give it to them. Our third important area of internet privacy and security is learning about privacy settings. Now, in some cases, this will mean the settings of your actual browser. Sometimes you will be using Internet Explorer, sometimes you will be using Firefox or Google Chrome. In this case, I'm going to give you an example from Mozilla Firefox. They have a feature called private browsing. And if you open up a window using private browsing, then it will basically collect no information from your browsing. So it will not record your history, it will not record any information from any forms that you have entered data into, and it will not collect any of your passwords. In addition, it also blocks cookies and it prevents sites from tracking you, much like hunters might track animals and follow them across the landscape so they can find them. Websites will also try to track you and follow your movements across the internet to try to collect a more complete picture of your personal browsing habits and perhaps shopping habits or other information. So blocking cookies and preventing tracking is one good way to increase your privacy. Another way to do that is to learn to understand the privacy settings in various social media websites. For example, Facebook is probably the most famous, and they generally have changed their privacy settings over many years, but you can always read the FAQ, and that will give you some suggestions as to how to adjust your privacy settings. In Facebook, they even have a helpful guide that came out fairly recently. And if you don't know how to find the privacy settings or even how to look for the FAQ, you can always search Google for information about any social media site, and you'll be able to find guides and tips for setting your privacy settings in a way that will not reveal too much personal information. As mentioned previously, most people might associate cyberbullying with something that kids do to each other, but in fact, adults can be bullied as well, and a study by the Pew Research Center shows that adults can be bullying victims as well online. In fact, 40% of adult internet users have been affected by online harassment, and this harassment could take many forms, one of which is that 27% of adult internet users have been called offensive names, and 22% have been intentionally embarrassed by others online. Many people would not think of spam or other internet scams as cyberbullying, but in fact they are. And often seniors are the group which is targeted the most because they tend to have less of an understanding of how to protect themselves and their personal information online. Some of the ways in which seniors are targeted, and other adults as well, include offers of free, quote unquote, prizes or discounted medication, which will lure people into giving up personal information, emails which are sent which appear to be from family members asking for money or other information, but in fact are scammers trying to trick you into giving up that information, and other emails which are sent which look to be that they're sent from banks or other government agencies such as Social Security or Medicare, and people feel that these are so important that they are tricked into giving up their personal information for fear of losing or missing out on the services that they are receiving. So what can you do to prevent being bullied online? Or if you are bullied, what can you do to respond to those activities? Well, there are a few different ways to avoid, prevent, or respond to cyberbullying, and some of these include knowing your social media and website rules. In this way, if somebody violates the rules of, for example, Facebook or Twitter or any other social media site you might be using, a message forum, then you will know how to report those people or block them and prevent them from continuing that activity. It's also important to know your digital rights. In some cases, cyberbullying could be illegal, and the people involved might need to be reported to the proper authorities, such as the police. And if you know your digital rights, then you will know when people have crossed those lines and that you may be able to take some action to protect yourself and make sure that they do not continue. And it's also important to know the tools that you can use to protect yourself. These might include anything from using a browser that has better security to also using other things such as malware tools on your computer that will delete malware and things of that nature. And the third main area of internet safety and security that we are looking at in this lesson is netiquette, internet etiquette. And basically, this is just having good manners online, to put it simply. A survey by Weber Shandwick showed that 7 in 10 Americans agree that the internet encourages uncivil behavior. In other words, about 70% of people have come to believe that people act with worse manners and act more rudely online than they do in their lives offline. The internet is like a mask. It allows people to hide behind a wall of anonymity, and it enables them to do things that they wouldn't normally do in their face-to-face interactions with people in the same room. And it feels empowering for some people to be able to have that kind of freedom, but unfortunately, too many people abuse that. And in fact, 41% of millennials, the youngest generation, 37% of Generation Xers, basically people in their 30s or 40s, 35% of baby boomers, and 27% of what the study called the silent generation, basically seniors, have acknowledged that acting uncivilly towards other people is a kind of behavior that they have engaged in. So it's important to realize that our ability to interact with each other online may affect our behavior, and we need to be conscious of that change and make the extra effort to act responsibly because of it. So what does it mean to practice good netiquette? Well, it means a wide array of things, including the 3 points that we looked at regarding digital citizenship earlier in the presentation. One of these is simply to be respectful and courteous, just like you would in real life. This one seems so clear that we shouldn't even need to say it, but unfortunately, there are many people who do not observe the regular rules of good manners and courtesy that we would expect from people in face-to-face interaction. It also means to learn and follow the rules of the various sites and services that you use online. There may be specific standards or rules. For example, some message boards may not permit you to post pictures or videos, and you need to understand those rules so that you will not violate the standards that different websites set up, because then you will be crossing a line into bad internet etiquette. Another important aspect of this is that not only should you act responsibly and courteously towards others, but you also need to expect others who you interact with online to abide by these same standards as well. And you need to understand the kinds of actions that you can take. In some cases, it might only be a conversation. In other cases, you might need to report somebody or block somebody. And you need to expect that you will also be likewise treated with the respect that you are trying to give to other people. And another aspect of this is that as you start to explore learning how to study English online and practice, you hopefully will be communicating with other people. and you will be either writing messages to them and speaking to them through text, or perhaps speaking with them face to face on things like Skype or Google Chat. And when you first start out, you will probably have a lot of questions on how to do things, and you will probably receive a lot of help along the way. But after you get to know what you're doing and you know how to do things, you will probably encounter other people who have similar questions that you had, and they might need your help. So it's a good way to be a digital citizen, to try to return the favors that you have received and to help other people when you have the chance to do so. So, to summarize a few of the key points and bring this to a conclusion, what have we learned from all this? Well, technology can feel overwhelming, especially if you're trying to learn how to use different forms of social media you've never used before, or different kinds of technology and devices that you are just learning for the first time. It can be difficult to navigate your way through those things. But the basics of good digital citizenship is not that complicated. It's pretty easy to learn how to be a good digital citizen, how to practice good netiquette, and how to take the basic safety and security measures you need to protect yourself online. And yes, it's true that there are risks to participating in digital society, and this can be a little bit scary for some people, and that may prevent them from trying to participate. But in fact, just a few basic precautions and good habits can go very far toward having a good degree of internet security and helping you to feel comfortable exploring your options on how to study and practice your English online. And finally, learning how to use the internet safely and responsibly will help you and others have an enjoyable, productive experience. These things may take a little getting used to develop good habits online and to learn the basic safety measures you need to protect yourself. But once you have that down, it will really help you to feel comfortable and feel safe as you use the internet. And then you can also feel confident about being able to share in experiences with other people, knowing that you are respecting them and they will be respecting you as well. And you can really have a great time learning English and exploring all the different kinds of resources online that can really help you improve your ability to practice as well as study English. So that is it. Thank you very much. And there will be further lessons